Welcome to the Ungaiku Podcast. We got a special edition of the podcast today. We are going to be talking about Nemophila. Andrew G. White from the podcast is out there in Japan right now, past midnight. Dude, thank you so much for doing this. It's awesome. Guys, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications because Andrew will be doing a review of the Bandmate concert with other people out there. I'm looking forward to talking to everybody about that show. It's going to be the Bandmate Warning. So a lot of good reasons why you should subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Remember, this podcast is live on all social media platforms, or streaming platforms, I should say, Spotify, all that good stuff. But without further ado, welcome, Andrew. How was the Nemophila concert?
I'm so excited to talk about it. Let me tell you, they were phenomenal tonight. It was an amazing show. They still have that same energy and punch. If you remember the last time that you saw them, they still can just absolutely bring it and rock your face off. They were hard, they were heavy, and it was an exciting and just I'm at a loss for words now because I was just so happy to see them again. Last time I saw them was in the United States when they were on their United States tour, and I saw them in New York, and they put on a heck of a show there. Of course, at that time they had Saki, but this time they were without Saki. But still, even without her, they still had a lot of power and intensity in their performance, and it was just an amazing show. And of course, the difference is, yes, I'm in Japan. I'm in Osaka, Japan, so they're playing at the Gorilla Hall tonight, and it's a different kind of experience. It's my first time actually to watch a band in Japan, so it is a different sort of sense that you get with the audience and the crowd.
Okay, so this is a new thing for just seeing a band in Japan, which is awesome. And we got to stop just for a second and talk about what were the differences already from a 4-piece to a 5-piece. Did you feel different in vibes or overall presence of the band, or was it just exactly the same energy? What were your thoughts on that?
So it's interesting because it was a lot of what we know about Nemophila. It was that same level of intensity. I picked up a lot of so there are some differences, obviously. First of all, I got to say, Saki is an amazing guitar player. Love the work that she does. You could get a sense that, okay, this is a different sort of combination now without her. But what they've done, and as you've talked about in your reactions, you hear a different set of tones and more instrumentation coming from the other members of the band. So, for example, Haraguchi-san on her bass, it's more prominent, and actually that seems to work very well because it really gives a lot of opportunity for her to get into the spotlight. One of the songs that they did where you would usually have the two solos between the leads when it was formerly Saki and Husky. Now they've put in Haraguchi-san doing a bass solo in that section of the song. So that was really cool to actually see her come up, do a bass solo, and then she played off to Hazuki, who did the guitar solo part. So
that is so awesome to hear that we're getting bass solos from Haraguchi-san. That is really badass. I love that. And that's awesome to hear. And how is it being your first time watching a band in Japan?
Oh, wow. I'm hooked. I can't wait. I got a lot of other shows that I'm going to while I'm here. Obviously, coming up next week, the big one, the reason for coming for all of this was Bandmate and The Warning. And I've always heard, and you guys have heard other people talk about how the crowds in Japan are a little bit different. They're a little bit more. Some people say that the fans are a little bit more sedate or calm. I think in my experience tonight, what I found was that they were just a little bit more regulated because they were like, there were certain call and responses during the show and they knew their part to play. Like when you watch a band in America, everybody's just doing their own thing, going crazy. But here in Japan, there's a little bit more of a uniformity, which they just have that more regimented sort of thing of people are going to come together and we're going to have our certain times place. We're going to respect the band by being quiet at certain times, and then we're going to get loud at certain times. So they have a bit of a routine, but it works for them, and it felt nice just fitting into this different environment. And the people here in Japan love them to death. They're very pleasant. Here's one thing that's funny is before the show started, there's always the music that gets played, the various songs that get played before a band comes on. One of the songs was by one of our favorite artists, Electric Callboy, and
yeah.
it was the Hypa Hypa song. So the Hypa Hypa song's playing, and I'm sitting there bobbing my head. Yeah, I look over, I see another Japanese man. He's also bobbing his head. And I'm like, oh yeah, Electric Callboy, good. Oh yeah. You have these, even though there's a language barrier, you can find ways to connect with people through the music.
Really That's really
awesome
cool that they're playing Hypa Hypa. That was awesome that they're playing that.
It was hilarious. When I heard the first couple of beats of that song coming on, I was just like, oh, that's rad. My hats off to the DJ or whoever was picking the house music. There was a lot of good songs that they played before the band started up tonight. So
take me from the beginning, man. You get to Japan, now you're there, you're at the venue, you're ready to see Nemophila. Walk me through the beginning to the end of this show.
So right from the beginning, they do their lineup a little bit differently. If anybody ever comes to Japan, it can be a bit of a difficult process to get tickets. They're very protective of through the system that they use. I think it's to maybe prevent scalping or something like that. So to get tickets, if you don't, in most cases, you have to go through either, if you're not somebody who's a resident of Japan or you don't have access to a Japan phone number, you'll have to go through either a proxy service, or if you know somebody in country, get them to get your tickets for you. Now, for me, I used a proxy service. Special thanks to Bridge JPN for hooking me up with a lot of my concerts that I'm going to get to see here. And you get a code from the proxy service or your friend or somebody else. You take it to, this is what's funny, you take it to a convenience store like a Lawson or 7-Eleven. You print it out on a machine. And then after you print it out on the machine, you're not done. You got to take it up to the counter so that the person behind the counter can then take that piece of paper and then print the actual ticket for you. And then when you get to the venue and you show them your ticket's got a lineup number on it, and you have to go stand in a queue line in a section to wait your turn to get into the show.
So at the concert, how early did you show up for the venue after getting a ticket?
Well, it's still about the same. It was like an hour before showtime. The doors opened up. And
was there people waiting there since the morning like they do in the U.S.?
No, because the thing is, with your tickets being numbered already, once you get there, you just go to the section of the queue. It's when you go to the airport and they say your boarding number is such and such, and you have to wait for your boarding group to get on a plane. It's a lot like that. So it doesn't matter when you get there. It's all about what number is on your ticket.
I think I like that. That's better. I honestly really agree with that system, just to have that ticketing like that where it's numbered, so you're not stressing out. You can get some rest before the damn show. So you're not, because here in the U.S. we get here, like, don't get me wrong, I love hanging out with everybody, so that's fine, but not for 9 hours. I mean, 9 hours crazy. But yeah, hanging out with everyone for a good hour before the show, I think is way better. And then you don't have to stress out or worry about trying to eat food and save your spot in line. So I really appreciate that system.
Yeah, it's just a very Japanese thing to do. You just show up on time when you're supposed to show up, and everything works out. So that's getting in. And after that, once I got in, the venue, Gorilla Hall, it was about the size of a lot of our medium-sized venues. So I think it was probably about a 500-person capacity kind of venue like that. It's like a House of Blues. If you remember House of Blues from Dallas, it's about that size, a little bit smaller, maybe like a New York Gramercy kind of size. And it got pretty full. And it's just like anywhere else, wait for the show to start. Now, actually, because of what Nemophila is doing on this special, they call it their Beast Mode tour. They are doing shows, verses with other bands. If you've seen the covers that they've been putting out, they're doing the covers of the bands that they're doing the verses with. So their opening act, or the verses for them tonight, was a band called Dizzy Sunfist. If you're a fan of punk, like really punky kind of music, check out Dizzy Sunfist. They were really great at amping up the crowd. A lot of people that were there seemed to be also fans of Dizzy Sunfist as well as Nemophila. So they were a really, really good group.
One thing I would just want to mention about how great this band is that they cover the songs of the people that they're going to be playing with at the venues. And I really respect that. Right. And honestly has motivated me to think about the same thing. But another thing that makes this impressive is the fact that they're going to be learning a new cover like consistently, right? They're learning it for these venues and these shows. That's really impressive. It's a lot of work to learn a lot of covers. So when they're setting up for this and they do something like this where they did Andy original by Dizzy Sunfist, I was like, wow, they're coming out with a lot of covers lately. They're getting back to it, right? But I didn't realize they were also making sure they cover the bands that they're actually sharing the stage with, and I really commend them for that. That is amazing that they do that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they're going to do this time, because they're sharing a stage with their verses with a band called Loudness, one of the sort of the OG hair metal,
in which they have Loudness
over here.
They have Loudness covers already, right? Yeah.
Right. So they've done. So what are they going to do this time for Loudness?
I wonder.
And of course, the rest of the roster, Slang, and some of the other bands that they'll be playing with. So those will definitely be something to check out from Nemophila in the near future. Now, obviously, on to the main show. It was, like I was saying earlier, they set everything up just what you would expect. The lights go down, the strobe lights are blaring at you, you're hearing the beats, and then they come out, and a lot of their songs that they were playing were from, mostly it was a lot to support the new album that they are doing with the Evolution. So it was the new version of Rise, Back into the Wild, but they also did a few of their, what I guess you could call classic songs.
Real quick, those two versions that we just watched on the channel, what did you think of those two, specifically hearing them live compared to what we got on the internet?
Oh, let me tell you, when you get a chance again to see Nemophila, I think you're going to go absolutely crazy for them, because in the live concert, they were just like what you remember. Mayu, she's got that great charisma, personality, connects with the audience. Her vocal range has, I think, gotten stronger, because she's able to just hit those deep growls just really hard, and then bounce into the cleans and just be smooth, and then hit it hard again. Yeah, she is just an animal on stage.
So when they released their versions, right, the Evolution versions, Back in the Wild, and what was the other song? I'm trying to remember. Rise. Okay, so when I heard those versions on the internet, you heard a big presence in the bass tone. Was the bass tone different? Was it better live, or did you feel like, you said that she did solos now in the place of some of the parts. Right. So how did the bass sound overall? Because you saw them originally in the States, correct?
I think it's... So here's the thing. I think because they've... And you probably can speak to this better than I could, but just from a layman's point of view, having lost that fifth member, that fifth sort of element of sound, yes, that meant that there was more room to allow the bass to come up. And I definitely, even me, somebody who's not really attuned to all this kind of stuff, I did notice that they did fill that sort of void with Haraguchi-san's bass. It was much more prominent than what I remember from the last couple of times that I'd seen them live. And it just seemed to work better, because it changes the dynamics. They're still doing that heavy metal arrangement, but now it's, in some ways it gets simplified, but in other ways it continues to have that technical complexity that they're able to do. But you would think losing a member would make them less, I guess to say, because I think anytime any band loses a member, especially a member who plays a significant role, there is that sense of something's missing. Yeah. And their response to that is, hey, we're going to push more forward. We're going to get the bass up and things like that.
Exactly. Sometimes less is more. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to distract you from when you were talking about the show. I had to ask. I was just curious of the variants before that. Keep going though. Okay, so you're watching them play these songs live. What are some of those memorable moments while you're sitting there watching this show? You were up front or near the back?
I got pretty close this time. I got lucky again with my tickets and the way they do the queuing thing. I had a pretty good number, so I got up pretty close. But here's the big shocker, the big thing to look forward to. And I think there were some hints of this in their social media. Mayu is playing the guitar now. She had a Gibson that she was playing in some of the songs. And it looks like maybe Hazuki has been giving her lessons, I think, because I noticed during a few songs, Hazuki would look back over to Mayu to see how she was playing. So it was interesting. It wasn't for all the songs, but it was just a few of the songs that Mayu did strap on an axe, and she did pretty well. She did some of the rhythm sections and a bit lead bits that she, I think, had recently picked up. But it was interesting to see. So again, having lost a significant member, this is how they fill in that room. Is Mayu is picking up a guitar now, and she was jamming away. Yeah.
That's so cool. Now you sent me a video. You interviewed a fan during this, or?
So yeah, I got to actually meet a couple of guys, Alfie from England and Gerald here, who happened to be in Osaka, and they were here to watch Nemophila, and so I got to talk to them briefly during or after the show to get their thoughts on it. And it was surprising. I didn't know if I was going to be the only English speaker here, but it was cool to run into other people.
All right, let's check this out.
Hey everyone at Dicodec and Alan. I'm here at the Nemophila concert in Gorilla Hall in Osaka, and got a few people here who also speak English like me, and they have some thoughts about the show tonight. So first up, would you introduce yourself and say where you're from?
Hi, I'm Alfie, studying abroad from England. Absolutely amazing. First concert in 1-3 months, and just, blew me out of the water. If I can, I'll see him again, but we'll see about that. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, you were telling me earlier, this is like the first time that you've actually seen them in person.
Yeah, I started listening to them a few months ago, and I thought, when I'm studying abroad in Japan, I won't get the chance again. It was great. Wow.
Is there a particular song that stood out for you tonight? Anyone in particular that you really felt was a strong reason?
Either like Odyssey or Enter. It'd be like a variety of stuff. It was just probably Odyssey, I'd say, but I like those songs. Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, you want to introduce yourself and where you're from?
I'm Gerald. I'm from Hawaii, and this is my second Nemophila. My first one is in Budokan, actually, but it's completely different after this.
Now, you've been following Nemophila for a while, is that correct?
For about a year or so, I'd say, so fairly new.
But you remember when Saki was with the band.
Yeah.
What do you think now about this concert tonight with her being out of the band?
I'd say it's totally different, but still awesome. That tapping from mine with live, man, that was so different and so refreshing. I loved it.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much, Gerald. We'll see you next time. Right.
Heck yeah.
So there you have it, guys.
Fuck yeah. So how?
Yeah, I always
They do let you film. People, so. You can film. Was that before or after the concert?
No, that was after. So yeah, typical Japan. No photographs or filming during the show at all. But once the house lights came up and the show was over, I was able to talk to those guys, and of course they did usher us out. So at the last part there, the staff was like, "Arigato, let's go."
They're like, "Stop filming, get out of here." So back to the other question: what was the memorable moment for you? What was the thing that stuck out the most for you?
I felt the same way that Gerald mentioned. There was they ended the show during their encore with "Life." And that's one of their more emotional kind of songs. It is such a great sort of crowd together song, and you have this moment where you're just really in tune and everybody's just having that emotional lift after going through a lot of the hard, heavy, shredding stuff. You get this lovely how
many people are crying?
Human ballad, and it's been known to be a tearjerker song. If you can find one of the renditions that Mayu does of "Life," she really has a breakdown moment. She held it together performance, but it's just one of those heart melting kind of moments. Other than that, great moments where just everybody in the band got a chance to shine. Tamu, always great on drums. She just killed it, perfect timing, and she's just blasting those beats out back there on the drums. Hosky was amazing to see. It was really cool to watch her kind of step into the role. They shifted on the stage. For a lot of people who've noticed that their stage setup previously was Saki would be on stage left, Hosky would be on stage, but now Hosky's moved over into that spot.
Yeah.
So I guess I say
Hazuki, for anybody that's wondering who he's talking about.
Yeah.
I'm sure they know.
It's interesting because as I'm learning Japanese, they say that U sound drops out. But anyway,
Hazuki. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Just in case somebody's confused.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that makes it more
Let us know in the comments. Correct us. Nicely, please.
Yeah, somebody out there, like I said, I'm learning. So let me let me know if I'm getting it wrong or not. Yeah, I don't know. Having interviewed him, I think that's how I would hear him say it. But she moved over to the other side of the stage. Haraguchi-san moved up into her spot, so you get that more sense of presence with all of them. And they just had great crowd connecting moments. They really just got almost like they felt like they were jumping off stage because they would stand up on risers. They would get to the edge of the stage, make great eye contact with people, and just hit. It's amazing. This is why I love watching musicians at the top of their game. They are able to have that ability is to hit the marks, hit the notes, jam on it, and still be able to have that presence of mind to look out in the audience and be like, yes, this is for you. I hope you enjoy this. Here it's coming. I'm going to kick your face in. I'm going to shred. And here's one other good moment. Just something else that I was not certain about is that during, I can't remember which song it was, I think it might have been Revived, but it was towards the end, near the last set. Mayu called out for a wall of death. Now, obviously, she was speaking in Japanese to the crowd, so I didn't really get much. But then when she put her hands out and did this, and I saw the people parting of the sea, if you will, we're going to line up for a wall of death. All right, let's go.
Did you do the wall of death, Andrew?
I did, but I stayed in the back so I wouldn't take the full brunt of it.
You're a big guy. You could have went in the front. You'd have been fine. I
got weak knees, though, so I didn't want my knees to give out on me.
All right, man. I really appreciate you doing this. Thank you for the report on the Nemophila show, man. This is exciting. I'm so ecstatic just hearing you talk about it. Can't wait to see you myself. I'm looking forward to your Bandmate and Warning review next week. It's going to be great. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Join our Patreon. We have a Patreon link down below. It helps support what we're doing here. We're going to keep bringing reports, coverages of live concerts of the bands that we love here on the channel. If you guys are into this thing and you do have the means to do, please consider checking that out. Guys, I appreciate you all. I got more Nemophila videos right here. I also have a new Nemophila video coming out of me interviewing everybody at the Fanime Con, introducing them to Nemophila. So that's coming out really soon. I'm still in the works of editing. It's going to be a great video. I made 2 new fans from that Fanime Con, so it was really awesome. You can follow Andrew over on X, where he will be posting up updates while he's in Japan, so make sure you give him a follow. I have the link pinned down below. And guys, if you have the means to do so, please consider supporting us further on our Patreon. We have a podcast tier on there where I upload reactions with other musicians to other artists every once in a while, and just some behind the scenes footage over there. See you guys in the next one. See you!